poem is Wind. So, as you all know that as your first section of the first part of your academic session of class 9 is already over and you have gone through the poem Wind. Now, as you have gone through the poem, you can understand that the poem Wind is one of the translated version by A.K. Ramanujan, and the original poet of the poem is Subramanya Bharati. Now, about him, let's start the session by just knowing about the poet. A few lines about the poet. Yes. Now you can see here a postcard of Subramanya Bharati, and he has been conferred the title of Bharati because of his inclinations towards Indian culture and Indian issues and problems. And he was a Tamil poet who tried to imbibe the issues of our nation into his poems, and because of which he was conferred the title of being Bharati. Yes. So, as we are introduced to the poem Wind, we come to know that the poem Wind is a symbolical poem and it symbolizes the problem of human life. It is based on the general topic that human life is actually full of a lot of obstacles, problems, difficulties which we need to face in each and every step of our life. It may be a very simple step or it may be a major step. But depending on the step, we need to tackle, we need to face issues and difficulties ranging from minor to major. Yes, if you can experience and if you can relate with yourself, you will just understand that our life is actually full of problems, full of issues, full of complexities. And so, this poem, as we can read the introduction here, the poem Wind symbolizes life itself. In life, we need to face a lot of obstacles. Yes, everyone, can you relate yourself with the obstacles and the problems? Yes. So the wind here to, too is to some extent symbolic of all the hardships, struggles, and difficulties of life. And this poem is actually translated into English by another famous English poet. Actually, he is a Kannadi poet, and he is A.K. Ramanujan. Okay, so let's start the poem now. Now, when we go through the poem, we can understand that if we go line by line, in the first stanza, we can just read that wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the wind. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, and crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. So here comes the first stanza. And in the first stanza, you can see that the poet is emphasizing on the point that wind, please don't do this, don't do that, don't break anything, don't scatter the papers, don't don't bring any kind of devastation. So you can understand that for the poet, it is very important from his point of view that wind here is emphasized, and wind here is given the prominent position. Actually, if we go into the detail, we understand that wind is here not only been given the position of wind, but it is given a higher position, a superior position, where the poet has to request wind that don't do this, don't do that. Though there is some kind of an imperative tone in the sentences, in the lines of the poem, we can understand that the poet is actually overburdened with the problem, with the issues of life, and which he is trying to symbolize into another extent, into a pattern where he is trying to emphasize that all the frail, crumbling things, it may be house, door, rafter, wood, bodies, lives, and hearts, all of these are actually the things which are tangible, which are intangible, each and everything which are in a crumbling position should not be broken or should not be devastated by the wind. But do we find any kind of a defying effect from the point of view of the wind? No. Why? Because wind is overpowered here. Wind is put in the epistle by the poet, and though the poet is trying to request, he is trying to in a tone, we can say that some kind of an order is given to the wind, but still wind is doing on its own. Each and everything that he tore, that he broke, that he devastated, that he brought some kind of catastrophic instances in the place, he brought it on its own. He didn't listen to anyone, and he didn't listen even to the poet. So from this point we know that, from here we know that the first stanza is totally overburdening the poet and overemphasizing wind as an effect, as a result of which, as a consequence of which, each and everything, even doors, windows, houses, and even hearts and lives which are in a crumbling position, which are in a position where they may fall, or where they may break down, each and everything is brought into dust by the wind. So the first stanza is actually trying to give us a hint that each and everything that is brought into focus here, the only idea is that no weak, frail thing can withstand. Okay. So another point which we can relate here is no weak, frail can withstand the harsh atrocities of wind. For example, the weak window, pages, doors, hearts, and lives. Hearts and our lives. Yes? Everything which is weak. So here we can just understand that each and everything which is weak, which is not up to the mark, or which we can say that which lacks self-confidence, or we can say the willpower which one should possess, is lacking here. And when one lacks the willpower, Mukul Sen, good evening Mukul Sen. If you are preparing, if you are a class 9 student, you will be definitely benefited from the sessions here that we provide. And we are giving this integrated session. Actually, ये एक integrated session है from 9 to 12, class 9 से 12 तक. और यहाँ पे हम लोग CVT अंडर ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट्स के को भी प्रिपेयर करते हैं, ताकि वो लोग एक integrated level, that is from class 9 level, they can prepare themselves, they can make themselves sure that they will be enrolled into their dream university. Okay, so because 9 is a crucial level, so class 9 से ही हम लोग यहाँ पे तैयारी start कर रहे हैं. Okay. Now, when we come to know, or when we can see that the first stanza is trying to focus that a person or anything which is tangible, if it is weak, if it lacks the minimum or requisite willpower, determination, and the strength that one should actually possess, if all these things are lacking in one person, then you are sure that you are going to be broken, or you are being brought into shatters or dust by the wind. Because wind is an oppressive force here, which is trying to devastate, which is trying to break each and every weak thing into dust. सो यहाँ पे हम लोग एक चीज रिलेट कर सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे जो विंड को बोला है, विंड यहाँ पे ऐसा एक ऑप्रेसिव फोर्स है, ऐसा एक पावर है जो किसी भी दुर्बल या किसी भी वीक चीज को तोड़ निचोड़ के मिट्टी में ला देगा, नहीं तो हम धूल तक ला देगा. एंड if you are not well equipped, if you are not you can say uh, you don't possess the willpower, then surely and certainly you are to be brought into dust. Yes. So the first stanza here ends with this concept that you should have the willpower, otherwise you will be brought into dust. Because even after repeated request by the poet that don't wind, please don't do this, don't do that, still did wind listen to the poet? Did wind listen to any one of us? No. Wind did as it wished, or as it wanted to behave. So you can just relate that wind is the oppressive force which is trying to bring everything into dust. Okay. After this, we will move on to the next stanza. There are only 2 stanzas in this poem. The poem is very short. The poem is very simple in words, and you can understand the poem in the first go because it is one of the easiest poem if you can relate. Yes? So, in the next stanza, what happens is that he won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Now, you can see here that the second stanza, in the very beginning of the second stanza, we come to know that wind is not going to listen to any one of us. It will do what it wants to. So the poet is trying to bring every one of us together so that we can build strong homes and strong minds. He is trying not only to bring something very concrete or perfect, but he is trying to bring the inner willpower, or we can say the inner strength in ourselves, so that we can make ourselves stronger, more stronger, and we can also say that we can make our heart steadfast. Steadfast means to become very much open to any kind of situation, to face any kind of situation. So you can just relate here that the second stanza is just a provocation to each and every one of us, where the poet is trying to bring some kind of unity among us so that we can face wind or any kind of hurdles in our life from the symbolic point of view, with the unity, with the strength, and with the willpower in our mind and in our hearts, and to overcome each and every obstacle of life with steadfastness. Yes, at the same time, he also said that the wind blows out weak fires. Now, see, when you can see a little spark somewhere, the wind, what it does, it will make the spark turn into fire. But how this is possible? Only when there is a simple minor issue which still is prevalent in ourselves. So this minor spark is symbolically to be understood by each one of us, as the poet is urging. He urges to make us understand that this small spark is actually the negative effect, the simple minor weakness in each and every one of us, which we need to erase from ourselves. Once we erase the spark, the bad things in the negative things from ourselves, it is the same spark which will bring fruitfulness, which will bring completeness to our life, because this same spark may turn into a massive fire and bring success to our lives. So, this you can easily understand that the same spark may have negative as well as positive effects upon our lives. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. And the last two lines of the second stanza and as a whole of the poem is that this friendship is good. If we are able to maintain the friendship with wind, it is going to be very helpful for us. But if we don't make friends with wind, it is going to devastate us and shatter us into crumbles. Yes, so let's read what the second stanza is trying to tell us. The second stanza has the moral and message for us, where only strong willpower, determination, boldness can carry us forward. It also symbolizes that only strong willpower and strength can become friends with wind. So, as a whole, we can say that, as I have explained the line by line to line explanation of the poem, after that, we can just summarize and bring the entire poem into a gist by giving a conclusion. But the second stanza is very important for us. Why? Because in this second stanza, we come to know that the poet is trying to emphasize that we need to be very strong inner self, in our inner self. Internally, we need to be strong, and at the same time, we should show that strength. We should show that determination, the willpower and strength, so that we can face any kind of difficulty in our lives. So, as I have already said, that life is full of hurdles, obstacles, which come in each and every step of our life. And in order to face that, we have the only solution, the only remedy is willpower. So it is our willpower which makes us, which forces us to carry out, to make us, to bring us forward into the limelight and force us to go through the life with zeal. Yes? Do you can you agree with this? Will you agree that yes, Willpower is very much important for us in order to strive for the best, or in order to strive for our aim and destination. Yes. So in the ending, we come to know that the message of the poem is very sure and certain. The message of the poem is clear, that first it introduces us to the turmoil of life, and then it makes us understand and realize the fact of the survival of the fittest. Now see, the very idea which was given by Charles Darwin, that is the survival of fittest, is applicable here. Why? Because each and every one of us here on earth need to be fit in order to survive. So if you are not the fittest one, you will not be able to survive in this harsh world. Yes. So it is very important that you all face life with the zeal, with the prudence to face any kind of situation. So, as you go through the last stanza, that is the second stanza, you can see that the wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. And it is the simple spark which can turn into something roar and flourish only when you have the willpower, the accepting, the manner or the attitude to accept any kind of situation in your life with the same optimistic manner, with the same zeal, with the same vigor. I mean to say that the poet is trying to overemphasize, the poet is trying to symbolically make us understand that we human beings are always under the threat of the concept of survival of the fittest. If you are not the fittest, you won't be able to survive in this harsh world. Yes? So, with this, we come to the end of the explanation of the poem. So, apart from this, what are the things the poem, the questions are, what are the things the wind does in the first stanza? So, in the very first stanza, what the wind does, it breaks the shutters of the wind. It doesn't come softly. It scatters the papers. It throws down the books from the shelf. It tore the pages of the book. It brings rain again and again. It breaks the crumbling houses, doors, rafters, woods, bodies, and even lives and hearts. So the wind god winnows and crushes them all. Now we know, as you can see in the second page, that is your page number 31, the concept of winnow is shown here. Have you seen anybody winnow grain at home or in a paddy field? This is the very image. Yes, can you see page number? This is the image of winnowing. So winnowing is actually a harvesting activity where, with the help of the wind, the husk of the grain is separated from the grain when the wind blows. So here also winnowing can be said that it is separating your identity, your very self, with the help of the wind. So the wind, the winnow god, is actually winnowing us from our own self, from our own identity. Yes. What does the poet say the wind god winnows? Actually, what it winnows? The poet is trying to give you or say you that the we know God is actually winnowing us from our own self, where we lose our self identity only when we lack self confidence, willpower, and determination. Yes. Then question number 4. What should we do to make friends with the wind? The only and the if you say that the only aspect by which you can make friends with wind is when you make yourself strong. You need to be strong in order to make friends. So strength is the only ultimatum in order to become friends with wind. Yes. So you will be a friend of the wind only when you possess the self power, the self determination, willpower, everything in order to make yourself strong internally as well as externally. Yes. What do the last 4 lines of the poem mean to you? So the last 4 lines, that is, the wind blows out weak fires, he makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good, we praise him every day. Now, the wind blows out weak fires. Now, whenever there is a very weak fire or only a spark that is blown out, that is completely erased with the help of wind. But if there is a massive fire, the wind will help the massive fire to flourish and roar and turn into something devastating or turn into something very which can bring itself into the limelight. So the last 4 lines is very important from the symbolical point of view, because it is trying to emphasize or it is trying to symbolize the very idea, the fact that the wind is the only power, the sole power in order to make yourself erase and remain calm down or to bring you into greater heights. So this is the difference which you need to realize. Okay. Then how does the poet speak to the wind? In anger or with humor? You must also have seen or heard of the wind crumbling lives. What is your response to this? Is it like the poets? Now, see, when we are going through the lines, in between the lines, we are reading between the lines, we understand that the tone in the first stanza, the poet's tone in the first stanza was something very drastic or full of anger or full of revenge kind of an attitude. But in the second stanza, there is some kind of calmness in the tone of the poet. Why? Because the poet understood. In the very first stanza, the poet was totally unaware of the issue that what can be the devastating effect of wind. But in the second stanza, the poet realizes that the wind is the sole power where the wind can bring anything into dust or it can flourish something to greater heights. So this is possible and it can be accepted. It can be actually calm down, or it can be brought into your own hands or into your own matters only when you are friends with the wind. And how can you be friend with the wind? Only when you possess self power, determination, and the willingness to face each and every or any kind of situation in your lives. Yes. Then the poem you have just read is originally in Tamil. Do you know any such poem in your language? Now, see, there are a lot of poems, but this poem is very important. Why? Because it is trying to bring the internal strength outside. It is trying to bring the internal strength, and at the same time it is trying to unify the entire nation so that we can face the atrocities of the world, atrocities of our lives with calmness. Yes, with the vigor that we have the energy to face any kind of a situation, and to face and tackle the situation and move forward with that situation. Yes, do you understand? If you have any complaints related with the explanation of the poem Wind by Subramania Bharati, or we can say translated by A.K. Ramanujan, please go through the comment section and make us know that what problems or issues you have in relation to the explanation or understanding of this poem. Yes. So the next class we will be dealing with another chapter from your class 9 standard, and I hope that you all join me in the session and you all prepare yourself, start preparing yourself for your future endeavors. Okay. Thank you for being with us throughout the session.